each other and try not to blink.
Of course.
See who can win.
Yeah, really? We
I
can give it a try.
You're gonna. I see. You won.
The world is coming undone. Imperial flags reign across the galaxy.
Can you be trusted without your shackles?
Let's just get this over with, shall we?
We've a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent. We need to know how to destroy it.
This is huge, right? This is like a huge film. How do you feel coming from a very independent background, suddenly being your third theatrical film, a Star Wars film?
I'd never have dreamt in my wildest dreams that, end up with a career that ever had Star Wars in it. And so I'm a massive fan. Like, it's the reason I got into filmmaking. And what's interesting is that when you make a low budget film, having a lot of limitations, having no money, sometimes becomes a positive. Like, some of the best qualities of independent cinema are the restrictions they have, And then suddenly you get to do a massive, amazing film and you have no restrictions, and you can make the mistake of just chucking everything in and not being selective. And so when we did this, we tried very hard to combine the best of like a blockbuster process, making a big, massive event film like this, but also with the intimacy and performances and emotion you get from a smaller movie. And we tried to do that by creating a lot of the sets where you could film in all directions and there was no crew. They have to all get out of the way and disappear. And so for many scenes we could convince ourselves that this was just like a camera and a sound guy and the actors. The very first thing we filmed for the movie was in Jordan. We went with a small crew to the desert in Wadi Rum, where they shot things like Lawrence of Arabia. We sort of had 50% of the time planned out, and we had 50% of the time trying to be spontaneous. And there's a lot of shots and moments in the movie that were just us with the crew going, that looks amazing, let's go over there quick, and try to grab the actors and film little moments.
It's also a spy film. It's also an infiltrators film. Do you think that those two changes, maybe having a very new voice and a very new way of tapping on the Star Wars mythology, changed something? What do you think that changed?
We had a license in a way. We were encouraged by the studio to be different, and I took that as the difference I wanted to go towards was like, kind of a little bit more serious and darker, and one of my favourite Star Wars films is The Empire Strikes Back, and that has a tone to it that I love, and we were trying to capture that kind of flavour, and then mixing that with a kind of more documentary feel. We'd shoot a lot of handheld, which not really gets done in Star Wars very much at all, and so you feel a lot more embedded in the battles.
But I also saw that it deals with contemporary subjects in a way. It deals with multiracial cultures. It deals with extremism. How much of that was, thought in a way to talk to this new generation of Star Wars fans that have dealt with those subjects in real life?
Well, I think George, when he did the original films, was obviously, you can see it in a lot of the ideas, was inspired by World War II and Vietnam and things like this for his approach. And obviously we've grown up in a different era and there are different conflicts in the world, and you get sort of subconsciously affected by other visuals. And so I think inevitably they find their way into the film, but it wasn't really a conscious effort. It was more, I think when you try, the reason Star Wars works so well is that it's a timeless story, because it's about humans doing things that we, all through time, we've always done. George was inspired by this book called A Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is how every single story ever told is really the same story, because we just, as humans, we just repeat ourselves. And I feel that, you know, if you get Star Wars right, it should last longer than 1 year or 2 years. It should last like 40 years. And the only reason it lasts that long is because it's touching on things that are part of us and part of our behavior. And so it feels like anything that's of the moment now is not by design. It's just because hopefully what it's doing is meaningful and reflects the way we are in the world. Our film pretty much connects with the original Star Wars, and that obviously shot in the 1970s, and it was filmed in England. There's a lot of the background cast, you know, was British, white guys like me. But in our film, we also had other sections of the rebellion. So we had to find different types and groups that were rebelling in their own ways, and so we wanted a cast that reflects the real world today. I think things have moved on quite a lot since the 70s, and it was important, I know it was to Kathy and me, to have heroes that you could, you know, show on screen that felt like that were, you know, spoke to a lot of people around the world.
Besides Vader, there are also wings to other Star Wars original characters. How important was it to have them there and not to feel shoehorned into the story, you know?
Yeah, well, when we started design, like initially when you first turn up, you go, okay, we want all these characters. I want Darth Vader, or, you know, Jabba the Hutt, and people, just everybody, just get them all. And then eventually you start working out what your story is, and you think, hang on, that would be silly if they were in the film and them. And then eventually we get rid of all of them and make the movie work on its own terms. And then you say, look, this person here really should be so-and-so from the original Star Wars film, because it just makes sense. And we started then getting them in. But you have to, I think, get past that initial attraction to just have like a cameo of your favorite character. Because if that's all the film's offering, then it's not really bringing anything like new to the table. And so we do, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there are obviously people from the original trilogy in some form, but hopefully if you've never seen the original trilogy, it will still make total sense to you. You'll feel like all these characters earn their place in the movie. We're not just shoehorning them in because we think it would be cool. It's like, this is a real event that really happened. And, you know, George was on Tatooine with his film crew, getting ready for when it passed through him with Luke Skywalker, and we were on Scarif with our film crew, capturing it just before it went to him. And so we wanted it to feel connected, but not like constant fan service sort of thing.
Well, thank you very much, Gareth.
Oh, no, thank you. Thanks a lot.